Well, back home now, a new roadside drug test being rolled out across Wellington today has attracted many concerns over the potential impact on prescription drug users. A driver with a valid prescription for medicinal cannabis, for example, would still need to undergo testing and be stood down from driving for 12 hours if they return a positive test. Well, Sarah Helm from the New Zealand Drug Foundation, she's the Executive Director there. She joins us now. Sarah, thanks so much for being with us on Herald Now this morning. So what are your main concerns about the rollout of this new drug testing?
Look, I think the concerns that we get are mostly from members of the community, either who are taking medicinal cannabis, or actually any of the other substances, wanting to really understand how the rollout is going to work and whether or not, how they can best obey the law to avoid being picked up at roadside drug testing. So there's a little bit of concern in particular around the window of impairment versus the window of detection. And we actually don't know that window of detection at this point in time. So that's probably one of the big question marks still there.
Yeah, right. So what you're saying there is that is the driver actually impaired at the time that the test was taken, and how do we prove that or otherwise?
Yeah, so of course, like with any substance or medication, so of course this test also, there's a follow-up test of 25 substances, including medications. There's a window where you're impaired, and there's also a window of time where this test might detect your use. And we don't know to which degree the window of impairment matches that window of detection, I guess. So the police are saying they've set the thresholds at a level that indicates more recent use, and there will be variability within that depending on your substance and your body, etc. But there's a little bit of lack of information there around that window of detection to enable people to, do the right thing, whether you're taking a medication or a legal substance, to do the right thing and to leave a good gap between your use and being out on the roads.
And just so it's clear for our viewers this morning, I mean, if for those who are on a prescription for medicinal cannabis, for example, you can't use a medical defence if you're stopped and tested, right? You can't say, well, look, I've got a prescription, so it's all good, and just carry on. It doesn't work like that, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And for some people, that's quite terrifying. So basically, we've been trying to put out as much accurate information as it comes to hand on our websites. People are welcome to look there. You'll be given 2 oral saliva tests at roadside. If you fail the first one, you get given a second one. You're tested for 4 substances: THC, methamphetamine, MDMA, and cocaine. If you fail one, you get another one. If you fail both, you are then not able to drive for 12 hours, whether you have a medical defence or not, whether it's accurate or not. That's then sent off. There's another test that's sent off to a lab for further testing for 25 substances, including medications like tramadol and a whole host of benzodiazepines and all kinds of things.
And amphetamines are also on that list, right? I mean, do we know categorically someone who's taking ADHD medication, for example, isn't going to get caught up in this? I mean, have police been able to reassure the Drug Foundation that, absolutely, because I think their position is no, people on ADHD medication will not be picked up. What have you been told?
We are still waiting for a little bit more information, but we have been given strong assurances that ADHD medications won't be picked up by that saliva testing. They will be tested for, or some of them will be picked up with the 25 substances that are tested for back in the lab. So if you are somebody who's also used a THC product and an ADHD medication, you might still get caught up at the end and have to apply for medical exemption after the fact. So you don't get automatically protected at the roadside. So yeah, a few nervous people out there today. Of course, at the other end, we also don't want to have impaired drivers on the road. So it's quite a difficult space, I think, for everybody to be in. It would be great if we had just impairment testing at the roadside, or something more focused on impairment testing than just detection of 4 substances.
Yeah, just quickly before you go, Sarah, what's the overseas testing shown? I mean, has that given you confidence that this is going to go smoothly here in New Zealand? We're not going to get a whole lot of false positives and things like that.
Yeah, so they have tried to do some things that will help to make it a little bit better than overseas examples. So they're essentially using the same roadside tests as Australia is using. Many people here will have heard news from Australia of people being picked up that's been unfair. One of the things that is here that isn't over there is that double testing, so having two tests. So if you've got a false negative or false positive, you'd get another test, hopefully to correct that with the second one. The other thing is, I understand from friends in New South Wales that there isn't even any medical defence over there. So there are some better things in the Australian situation, but they are using essentially the same technology at Roadside. So all of the problems that are there will be here as well.
Sarah Helm, New Zealand Drug Foundation Executive Director, thank you very much for your time this morning, Sarah.